Hello everyone, welcome to the SYBSC Zoology online class. Dear students, welcome to the SYBSC Zoology paper first online Google Classroom. This is our first lecture. Actually, I have posted some PPTs and shared it with you through the Google Classroom. And now this is the first lecture, online lecture. The title of our course is Animal Diversity Third. Its course code is Z231. It is the semester third and this course is for 2 credits. We have to complete this course in 30 hours. There are 6 chapters which we have to complete in this course. Today in this lecture we'll start to the chapter number 1. The name of chapter is Introduction to the Phylum Chordata. We have to complete this chapter in 3 hours. And in this chapter, there are 4 subtitles which we have to study. It is nothing but origin and ancestry of the chordates, then comparative account of fundamental characters of chordates with non-chordates, silent features of phylum Chordata, then classification of phylum Chordata up to the classes. Today, we will just study the origin and ancestry of the chordates as well as the difference between non-chordates and the chordates. Everybody among you know that myself, Dr. Bhausaheb Ghorpade, I will teach zoology paper first to the SYBSC. Now first we have to study what is the difference between non-chordates and chordates. Now you are the students of SYBSC. In FYBSC, you have studied zoology paper first, that is the animal diversity. You have studied non-chordates. And in this year, that is in the second year, you have to study chordates. Now in non-chordates, you have studied there are different characteristics of the non-chordates. For example, in case of non-chordates, notochord is absent. But in case of chordates, the notochord is present. At least it is present in one stage of its life cycle. Non-chordates are cold-blooded animals. Chordates are cold-blooded or warm-blooded also. In case of non-chordates, respiration is by tracheae, gills or body surface. In case of chordates, respiration is by lungs or through the gills. In case of non-chordates, hemoglobin is absent in the blood. Therefore, it is not reddish in color. But this hemoglobin, instead of hemoglobin, there is presence of fluid which is called as the hemolymph. In case of chordates, hemoglobin is present which gives red color to the blood. Non-chordates are triploblastic, some are diploblastic, whereas chordates, they are triploblastic. In case of non-chordates, there are different types of the symmetry observed in that animals. It may be bilateral symmetry, it may be radial symmetry, it may be biradial symmetry, or some non-chordates, they are asymmetrical. But whereas in case of chordates, they are bilaterally symmetrical animals. Now about the body cavity, coelom or body cavity. In case of non-chordates, the true body cavity or true coelom may be present. It is called as true coelomate. In some, the true body cavity or coelom is absent. A means absent. That means they are nothing but acoelomates. Whereas in some non-chordates, there is a false coelom. That is the pseudo. Pseudo means false. And therefore, they are called as the pseudo-coelomate animals. Whereas in case of chordates, the true body cavity or coelom is present. That means they are true coelomate animals. In case of non-chordates, tail is generally absent. In case of chordates, tail is usually present. In non-chordate, entire body surface is covered by the exoskeleton, hard chitinous structure like, for example, in case of the snail, there is a hard shell present. In case of chordates, this exoskeleton is generally absent, but it is present in some animals. For example, in tortoises, it is present. In case of non-chordates, endoskeleton is absent, but in chordates, endoskeleton is present. Now, nervous system, in case of non-chordates, it is simple. There is a ventral nerve cord. It may be double, and that nerve cord bears ganglia. In case of chordates, nerve cord is located to the dorsal side of the body. It is single and it is without ganglia. In non-chordates, blood circulation is usually of open type. There is no any artery, vein or different blood capillaries. There is no oxygenated, deoxygenated blood, etc., etc. But in case of the chordates, there is a closed type of the blood vascular system or circulatory system. There are presence of the special capillaries or veins or arteries or blood vessels to carry the blood. Therefore, that type of the blood circulation is called as the closed type of circulation. And the pumping organ for it, it is nothing but the heart. That heart is ventrally placed in case of the chordates. Whereas in case of non-chordates, in some, heart may be absent. Or for example, it may be tubular and located to the dorsal or lateral side of the body. Now these are the different characteristics of non-chordate and chordates. We have compared it. Now in this year, that is in SY BSc, you have to study only chordates. You have studied non-chordates in the first year. Now here you have to study only chordates, and important characteristic of chordates. They are nothing but presence of notochord, then presence of dorsal tubular nerve cord, then presence of pharyngeal gill slits and post-anal tail. These are the 4 important characteristics of the chordates which are absent in the non-chordates. And now we have to study how these chordates are originated. Who are the ancestors of these chordates? Now we know that in non-chordate there are different phyla. For example, Protozoa, Porifera, Coelenterata. Then Aschelminthes, Platyhelminthes, Annelida, Arthropoda, Annelida, Mollusca, Echinodermata, etc. And these echinoderms, they are the ancestor of the chordates. These chordates, they are evolved from deuterosome animals. It may be echinoderms and the hemichordates. Then there are pogoferans, and there are certain similarities with these echinoderms larvae. Now we are familiar with the echinoderm larva. There are different type of echinoderm larva. For example, early bipinnaria larva, brachiolaria larva. There are many larvae in case of the echinoderms. Now some scientists, they have studied that and they have proposed that different theories according to, for example, Johannes Müller. He proposed that these chordates are originated from the echinoderms. And for that, he has shown certain conclusions that there are certain comparative studies in between the larvae of the echinoderms, hemichordates with the chordates, and this Müller, then Garstang and D. Beers proposed that echinoderm larvae, they have given rise the chordates by a neoteny, that means young one development from the larval stage. The fossil echinoderms, that is the Calcichordata, it also confirms the ancestry of the chordates from the echinoderms. This is the first theory, that is the echinoderm theory. Now second theory is nothing but the hemichordate origin. Hemichordata. We are familiar, hemi, that is the having half characters of the chordates and half from the non-chordates. Now according to scientist Romer, 1959, he proposed that these hemichordates, they are the ancestors of the chordates. There are presence of the certain ciliated tentacles like things in the planktons, and by the mutation, these are developed into a pharyngeal gill slits. These extends pterobranches, they are used for the feeding purpose. The hemichordates, they shows the affinities with the chordates. For example, Tornaria larva, it is having some phylogenetic relationship with the Echinodon larva. This is the second theory, that is the hemichordate origin. Now third one is the Eurocoordinate origin. Now Eurochordata, the scientists Gaston and Beryl proposed that the tadpole-like larvae of the Eurochordates have a same characters like a chordates. The notochord in the tail along with segmented myotomes and dorsal nerve cord, it is also present in this chordate, and there is development of the pharyngeal gill slit. This Gaston in 1920 suggested that these chordates are evolved from the Eurochordata and neoteny, that means the young one developed from the larva and going to the losing its organs to become a adult. This theory is nothing but called as the Eurochordate origin theory of the chordates. And now fourth theory is nothing but Cephalochordate origin. According to some scientists, the chordates are originated from the group Cephalochordata. Chamberlain is the scientist in 1900. He proposed that these chordates, they are originated from the cephalochordates. There are certain primitive features of the noncoordinates. For example, absence of the heart, head, etc., etc. Then food capture is by the solenocytes. Example of cephalochordata is Amphioxus. The Amphioxus-like fossil shows streamlined body. It is ribbon-shaped, measures about 5 cm in long, and it bears notochord in the posterior 2/3 region of the body. Other chordate fossils like Cathimerus, they are originated from the early Cambrian sediments in China, and Paleobrachiostomata from the early Permian from South Africa, which also bears these characters like similar to the Amphioxus. These are the four theories, and fifth one is nothing but the combined theory. That means this theory gives some information that the chordates are originated from all the combined, that means from the Eurochordata, Echinodermata, Hemichordata, Cephalochordata, etc., etc. Therefore, this theory is nothing but called as the combined theory, and this theory is proposed by scientist E.J.W. Barrington, and he proposed that these chordates are originated from the echinoderms and other types of the groups. These are shown here, and sometime later the plankton-like material, if not available, if it is declined in the water, then there is a need to have a certain feeding mechanism. That means this larva becomes neotenic adult, and these cephalochordate ancestors, they shows a perfections by expansion of the chordate characters like Ascidian tadpole larva. These are the different theories about the origin of the or ancestry of the chordates, and this is all about the first lecture. We have studied the origin and ancestry of the chordates, as well as the comparative account or the difference, fundamental difference in between non-chordates and the chordates. This is all about the first online lecture, and now afterward I will post again the different videos after that. Okay, thank you.